skin. Temptation within, mistakes ignite the silence. Nightmares creep while you and me repeat. This bittersweet heat is suffocating. I'm waiting and always hesitating. Kryptonite desires set my heart afire. Heart on fire.
Everybody knows that I'm breaking down. Everybody knows I ain't faking now. Everybody knows my heart's vacant now. Yeah, she hates me now, I made mistakes, but now I don't ever wanna be alone. I don't really ever feel at home. On my own, in the zone, that's the only way I know. Feeling low, about to blow back up. I won't ever let the doubt creep in. Gotta pop a couple more aspirin. I don't think I'll ever let you in. Easier to break it off as friends. I don't really understand myself. I don't really understand, need help. I don't wanna be left on the shelf. Couldn't even hear me if I yelled.
It's so cold outside. I'm alone, I'm alright. It's so cold outside. I'm alone, I'm alright. It's so cold outside. I'm alone. It's so cold
Let's go. I don't wanna break down, I always feel like I could break now, but I never let it take me to that place now. I won't ever let my thoughts get away now. I got better things to do, picking fate now. I just wanna be the best, call me great now. I don't know if I'm okay or insane now. I remember better days on the playground, hoping I can find my way even when I'm feeling down. I fight, even when I don't know what is right. I'ma pick a side, and I'ma take pride. I will decide my fate, and I will never let them tell me who I am. If you try to shake me, I'll be damned. Planet on the ground is where I stand. Never give up, that was always the plan.
It's so cold outside. I'm alone, I'm alright. It's so cold outside. I'm alone, I'm alright. It's so cold
I stop. never saw me. Did your world stop spinning? Does your world revolve around me? Me too.
Warum spielen Millionen von uns World of Tanks? Nun, ich mag Ramen. Sehr schön.
Show to you that I'm more good than I am bad. I work it out, I work it out. And I'll be somewhere that you need me. And I'll be holding my breath, waiting for you to show.
The pieces that I lost in the lobby, I put you against the wall, you had us body to body. I can't help the way you make me feel, it's so hard to copy. Let's find common ground, meet me in a lost and found, yeah. Dark days turning into dark nights. I hit the strip and spend it all, I'm having hard times. That reminiscing had me looking through the archives. I seen a picture of you looking like the star shines. And you're bright, 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 like the lights on a fight night, night. Love hit me like a mic, mic, mic. You know I'ma get it right, right, right. So stay with me, run away. Need like coke, fiend need coke. Even though your heart cold, ski slope. I really hope the song bringing me close.
But it's got them hating. Thanks to all the rumors you be claiming. It's cool, I'm done with you, so they can throw you a celebration. You gon' hate it when you see me with somebody living better. I'm trying to tell you that me just doing me gon' have you jealous.
I know that I gotta stay away from all your games. And I know that I found somebody else to love me today. You'll realize the grass ain't greener on the other side. No.
Tripping cause I just chose to believe that somebody gon' come around and give me just what I need. I don't wanna see you finding, see you looking down and out. Coming to me crying, saying you miss having me around. Gave you chances and you blew it. You so easily influenced. All the times you told me beat it, now you gotta face the music. I'm saying
I know that I gotta stay away from all your games. And I know that I found somebody else to love me today. You'll realize the grass ain't greener on the other side. No, you did me dirty for the last time, so now I gotta say goodbye. I love you. No. 1, 2, 1, 2. Don't stop. I'm on fire. 1, 2, 1, 2. I love you. One, two, three, no.
Just assumed I'd play the part of keeping you in the right direction. No matter how your confidence may fall, I'll be here as your foundation. And I say, hey, I'll just let it go. Your struggles won't. Hey, we're holding hope and wake up yesterday. So how
going on. Like, people are still...
Is it?
Yeah, I see aeroplanes still fly over my house. Like, I don't live too far from an airport. There are still some flights happening. I think in a couple of weeks, I know this, I mean, not that the players will fly, but it's EasyJet are going to fly. Most players will fly in private planes anyway if they were to do transfers and things along those lines, as an example. There are still some domestic flights within certain countries, so there are little bits and pieces going on still.
Yeah, no, that's good though, because hopefully we get Sancho, eh? Like,
oh, yeah, I wouldn't even... By the time Man United and Dortmund sit down to potentially negotiate, lockdown will be almost certainly lifted by then. Whether people believe it's right or wrong, it almost certainly will. Sancho will then be flown over in a private plane or helicopter. He won't be on a commercial flight. So, again, in terms of, from his point of view, it'll be about as safe as you can be.
Yep, no, that'd be good then. Hopefully we get him, eh?
Oh, absolutely. He's such a talent.
Yeah, I was just wondering about borders because here in Australia, I'm in Perth, where United come for the pre-season tour. We don't even have any cases left over here anymore. We're not opening our borders to other states in Australia whatsoever. And international to Australia is going to be probably nothing for a year or so, I reckon. Yeah. So I was hoping, European borders open up for that crap.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. I mean, there's not a great deal happening. I mean, there's not like thousands of commercial flights a year. But I did read this morning, for instance, EasyJet's going to start its flights again middle of June. I had a business colleague that took a flight, and that wasn't a private flight, so it's a little different recently. He had to go. Again, there are certain things that travel-wise is going to be essential. I'm sure government ministers are allowed to fly across borders in Australia, as an example. Now, football won't get that same kind of leverage as but there are still some things that are going on. But
our state leaders are all fighting, man, because we won't even open our borders to anyone. Like Sydney and Melbourne, they've still got cases, and they want us to open our borders to them. Like we're refusing to.
That's crazy. I didn't even know. So you're basically like you almost become your own independent countries within your own country.
We're pretty much an island within an island. No, but South Australia's not opening their borders. Only Sydney and Melbourne are, and like they're the only two states still with cases. Like it's quite crazy.
Well, I'm just going on to a. Hang on a sec. I'm just going on to a flight thing now. I'm just going to try and book a flight.
Have you heard of AFL?
AFL?
Yeah, the game that we play over here.
Yes.
Yeah, because that starts back up on June 11, and the West Australian and South Australian teams have to go to Gold Coast and stay there for like 6 to 8 weeks and do a hub, while the Victorian teams and Sydney teams can still travel.
Okay. Now, just an example here. So I went to Ryanair, they're one of our budget airlines over here. So they're doing, like, I fly to Ireland. They're doing one flight a day, for instance, to Ireland. Like, so that's what I mean. There's such limited flights. So there is still the ability to travel, but it's exceedingly limited. I just wanted to double check that I didn't get that wrong, but there we go. But listen, mate, hopefully we will pick up Jadon Sancho. It's nice to talk to you, mate.
Yeah, no, cheers for that, mate.
Take care. All the best, mate. Bye-bye. Cheers. Thank you. So about 20 minutes away from kickoff now, ladies and gentlemen. Have we had any more super chats come through? I just wanted to check before we went forward. No. He goes, you've still been able to book flights on month. Terry, they never cancel people being able to book them. I know, but he's actually, I get that. But the point the guy was making is, can you actually travel across borders? The situation is, it's more of a myth than a fact, but it just feels like, if you're a good player in Germany, Bayern Munich snap you up, and these things, these myths can become legend and people think they're real, as an example. But no, I agree with what you're saying.
It was true for a long time.
No, I get that, but it was the same in England. It's the same in England. Liverpool and Man United went for a long period of time where we signed all the best players, and then Chelsea started doing the same thing, and then City started doing the same thing. So it's normal. I think that, but I understand why, from a marketing point of view, it's important, because if you can get the world hyped about a Pulisic and now Sancho and a Haaland, when these players are then sold on, you make there's a massive amount of money to be made, and whether they want to admit to it or not, this is how the Dortmunds of this world make their money, by buying. It's like buying stock. They buy low, they wait for it to reach a certain valuation, and they sell it. They've got no long-term plans of holding on to stocks for 20 years. They want to buy it low. When it goes past a certain level of yield, as soon as Sancho gets worth a certain amount of money, they don't want to risk keeping him any longer, because he could then bomb. And we've seen that with youngsters that come on the scene at 18, 19, 20, look brilliant. They can get to 23, 24 and not improve. If you don't sell him at his peak, you might end up making a loss later on down the line. And Dortmund, I keep saying to people, Dortmund are right now looking at all the replacements for Jadon Sancho that will also be a lot cheaper than they would have been 6 months ago. So it's from a profitability point of view. If you lose 10 million, 20 million on Sancho on the sale price, but you save 10, 20 million on the purchase price of the people you're bringing in, your margin is the same. You're still making the same amount of profit. If you're looking at it on an individual trade basis, you're still making the same amount of turnover additional. If your income drops by 10 million, but your expenditure drops by 10 million, you're in exactly the same position. So just nobody's talking about the finances in a real sense, but the teams are walking out onto the pitch. Now, what's your score prediction for the Wolfsburg game, mate?
Dortmund versus Wolfsburg. Wolfsburg's an up and down team.
Yeah.
They can be really good. They can be really bad. My guess is you're looking at Dortmund's probably going to score 2-3 easy. Wolfsburg can either draw or maybe fall a little short. I don't see Wolfsburg winning. So it's either going to be a 3-1 or a smaller gap between that.
And
somebody said that.
Sorry, go on.
Somebody said in the comments, once again, why is Sancho not starting? and I'd seen comments earlier about Sancho's overweight or this, that, and the other. No, he's not overweight. He may look overweight, but come on, people. Really? He's not gaining loads of weight while he's sitting there. They're still on dietary things. He has a leg issue. I don't know if it's an abductor or whatever, but yes, he's still hampered by an injury he got last week before the other game. And if people were watching him warm up, he was still limping around yesterday or last game.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, honestly, with you watching the Dortmund versus Wolfsburg game, the better game is actually Gladbach versus Leverkusen if you're watching for the best overall Bundesliga players. Because, I mean, in that game, you've got the Kai Havertz, you've got Leon Bailey, I think Jonathan Tah is out of that game, but you've got Marcus Thuram, I mean, Alisson Playa. You know what I'm saying? You've got more high-end players in that game versus with this one, it's most of the talent in the game in the Dortmund versus Wolfsburg game is on Dortmund.
Yeah. And you know, it's interesting really because we have to weigh out which ones we do because we're doing Scout Watch every week, and we haven't. It's twice now that we've set up and planned for this one. I've done all the background work on Sancho. He's not starting. I think Kai Havertz is somebody we're gonna touch on next week. Tomorrow we're going to be doing Timo Werner, and we're just trying to do it with people that are heavily linked to the Premier League. What we're trying to make sure we do here is keep it relevant to our audience in a way, but that's why I wanted to speak to you, because I'm not one. I don't claim to know. I know nothing about your league, and I mean that in the sense of I watch your teams play in the Premier League and in the Champions League, and then I don't watch it at any other time. And in fairness, most Premier League fans are like that. A lot of them lie. I watch it all the time. No, you don't. You watch some highlights on YouTube. That's about the long and the short of your Bundesliga experience. But do you think you're going to win the league still? Are you still really confident of that?
At this moment, based off of the way that we played last game, because today we play Frankfurt in the late game, and then we play Dortmund on Tuesday. If Dortmund wins, we win. We'll still have the 4-point advantage going into the Dortmund game. If by some weird thing happens, we lose, we're still up 1. And we tend to have a easier schedule towards the end of the season than Dortmund does. A game right before, and the reason why I don't have Leipzig in as possibly a contender at this point is because Leipzig's about 7 points behind us, and at this point they still have a harder schedule because Leipzig plays Dortmund the game or the match day before the last match day.
Yeah.
So you've got a bigger game at that point, and I think at that point we play Werder Bremen or Wolfsburg. So I mean, we've got an easier track on paper. And it just depends on if we can, and the biggest reason with all of this is it's what teams can stay healthy, because after a layoff like that, all the Bundesliga teams this week were dealing with players that have muscle injuries and stuff along those lines. Like Dortmund just lost Marco Reus for potentially the rest of the season, which most fans understand that's nothing new. But
yeah, I was going to say that's one thing I do know about. Marco Reus is one of those players I always feel so sad for, because he could have been, for me, anything he wanted to. I remember sort of 7, 8 years ago, maybe a bit less than that now, when he was sort of first at Dortmund. I remember watching him thinking, wow, look at this kid. It's just injury after injury has stopped him. And that's probably the only reason that he stayed at Dortmund and nobody's taken a gamble on him, because he seems to have a major injury every season, and that might be a slight exaggeration, but it's kind of how it comes across. Does that make sense?
Well, it's not really every season. It's he gets some sort of a knock or some sort of an injury right as it's a critical point for Dortmund. So even if it's a critical 2 or 3 game stretch, for some reason it's some type of a leg injury that he gets when it's a time when Dortmund actually need him.
Yeah.
And when he was with Gladbach before he came back to Dortmund, he really did, and when he was younger, he didn't have all of these just nagging injuries. But it's come to the point where I think if you look at the Sanchos, the Haalands, the Hazards, the Brandts, Axel Witsel, those types of guys, they found guys that can do what Royce does. So it's almost to the point of where Dortmund fans love him, but Dortmund fans and the Dortmund club have already kind of found that, okay, well, if you get hurt, great, we've got guys that can do what you do.
Yeah.
And it's sad to say, because I mean, Marco Reus could have been a great player, but it's the same as Mario Götze. Götze could have been a great player, but his myopathy, the muscle injury or muscle illness that he had, I mean, both their seasons and careers got curtailed because of injuries. So.
Yeah, and that's part and parcel. I always it's one of the interesting attributes where if I was in charge of recruitment at a football club, or if I was the coach, it doesn't matter what my role is. If I'm a senior person involved in the buying and selling of players at a football club, not enough attention is paid for me from a fan's point of view on the fitness levels of players. I want to know, can a guy play twice a week? I want to know, do they have, have they started to have, you look at Harry Kane, the one thing that's starting to put me off Harry Kane, not as the quality of player that he is, but it's the fact that, that ankle keeps going, he keeps getting these knocks and injuries. I remember Fernando Torres, who may have been slightly younger, maybe similar age, I think he got his second or third hamstring or leg injury to Liverpool. And I remember I was talking to a couple of Liverpool fans I worked with. I said, look, one more and that boy's finished as the player as we know him. And they all kind of scoffed and laughed at it. And I said, I'm saying that from someone that competed in sport at a fairly high level. And I'd seen friends myself had a couple of major knee injuries where I just remember coming back at 23, 24, and my sport was, I just felt something was different. And again, I wasn't having the treatment of the level of Premier League football players, so I wasn't. So I had these major knee injuries. I wasn't getting the same. I just felt I wasn't the same person again. So at the highest level, even though you got great care, your hamstring keeps snapping. At some point, you're gonna lose something, and you can't help it. And that's what I worry about with Harry Kane.
It's the same thing along the lines of like a Kingsley Coman at Bayern.
Yes.
Kingsley Coman had a lot of ankle and foot injuries, and even after his last, I think it was a foot or ankle, I don't think he broke it completely, but it was early to mid part of last season when he got hurt. He even just straight out said in an interview, if it happens again, I'm done. And it's to that point of, is the player going to worry about, like here in the U.S., NFL players, are you going to keep playing to the point of where you can't walk anymore? Or are you going to play to the point of where okay, my body can't take it anymore, it's time to go?
Yeah, that's the thing, mate, isn't it?
That's kind of what Marco Reus is probably starting to get to, is yes, you're young enough still to be a great player, but are the injuries and everything that you're trashing your legs over, are they really worth it? Because you're not. I mean,
we had a guy over in England, Jack Wilshere, that was a very technically talented player. So exciting when he was younger. There was a game he played for Arsenal against a very good Barcelona at the Emirates, where he absolutely bossed the midfield, and he wasn't playing at that level every week because he was so young, but you could see a player in there. And I remember as an England fan thinking, we've got someone here that can take the mantle that Paul Scholes once had, Steven Gerrard, that level of player. But it was just injuries, and a lot of people like to scoff at Jack Wilshere because he never reached the potential or the hype. But his issue was injuries, and for him it was impact injuries. And yes, his body's ability to stay fit is an attribute, so that's why he didn't make it at the highest level. But I felt sad for him, and I just remember it was 3 or 4 major injuries in, and I remember watching him come back and just thought, oh man, you're getting bossed in midfield by average ballers now. who you'd have walked all over, and that's because your body just and these footballers must feel it. They must go out there. I remember going back to an old kickboxing club of mine and sparring, and I was sparring against this one kid who was like, this was a couple of years ago. He was about 18, 19. He's average, and I told him to his face he's average, but he boxed my head off. Why? Because I'm in my 30s now, and I hadn't trained for 5-6 years, and he was just a little faster than I was and fitter than I was. Even though his technique was poor and he was telegraphing, I couldn't. My body knew what to do. My brain knew what. My brain knew what to do. My body couldn't make me do it in enough time, and that's what happens to And basically, when you get all these injuries, your body becomes older quicker. Scar tissue everywhere, and that's the issue that a lot of these players have. So, when you look at the Haalands and the Sanchos and these youngsters now, everything you say about their future is injury pending.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I keep trying to tell everybody about Erling Haaland. He's never had a major knee injury or leg injury at this point. He could either go, and I keep trying to compare him to two specific players as far as that goes. He can either go down the route of a Marco Reus, where he gets one and it just keeps compounding, kind of like a Harry Kane. You get an ankle injury and it never really goes away, or he can go down the route of like a Thomas Muller at Bayern, who rarely ever gets injured.
Yeah, something you actually said about Thomas Muller. I just want to speak about him for a second. You spoke about him the other day and was talking about how people disrespect him. I then went and looked. I've got this access to this new system where you can break down statistics and stuff. So it's better than, it's not like the internet. It's what basically the internet companies
think. The new internet.
You have to pay for it, and I just wanted it to have a look. And I went and had a look here, and I went and looked at the Bundesliga as an example. And Bundesliga. Sorry, Bundesliga. Okay, there we go. That's cool. But then I was talking about what you were saying, how he's the second. Like, everybody's raging about Sancho because he's leading on the assist charts, and they should be raging about him because he is leading on the assist charts. But Thomas Muller's also on 15. No, they're both on 15, but I think he's Sancho's in front of him because he did 15 first. But Thomas Muller is on 15 as well. But yet, I don't know what it is with Thomas Muller. When I look at him, I look at him as a player. I'm just looking at him here. If we just look at this season, I'm just putting it up on my screen in front of me now. If we just look at this particular season,
actually, Thomas Muller has 16.
Oh well, not according to this website's saying 15, but
he's first in the league.
Okay, so this website says 15, but okay, that's cool. Either way, it's a lot, right?
Yeah.
He assists in 0.7 games, right? It's almost one a game, and he scores a goal 1 in 3 games. He scores a goal every 3 games and assists in almost 1 assist per game. But yeah, people talk about him like he's a brick and he's overrated. I don't really understand why people don't rate Thomas Muller.
The reason why is because Thomas Muller, for a majority of his career, because you've got to think back even when he was at Pahal as a youth player. The reason Bayern Munich picked him up from Pahal to start with, which is just a small kind of like village team right outside of Munich. He scored 163, 165 goals in a season. So the thing was, is even back as a kid, he was a goal-scoring machine. The 2010 Olympics, or the 2010 World Cup, he was the silver boot winner.
Yep.
2014, he was one of the top 3 in goals. I think he won the Golden Boot in 2014, I think. But the thing is he was a goal scorer. Even under Pep Guardiola, he was averaging 15 to 20, 23, 24 goals a season. And then all of a sudden, Lewandowski started picking up and scoring 30 or more.
Yeah.
And Muller kind of got pushed more to the wing because we had Robin and Ribéry, and those guys would get hurt, so he would have to play on the wing, which made him more of an assist guy versus a goal scorer. So now it's to the point of where he's not scoring 15, 20, 25 goals a season. He's getting a maybe 10, maybe 15 goals a season, but he's getting 10, 15, 19 assists a season. So he's become more of an all-around threat which makes him more dangerous because he is one of the guys that can find space that, and I'll be probably the only one to say it. He can find space that nobody on the planet can find. I don't know how he finds some of the space to open up defenses the way that he does, but if you allow him to roam, he can exploit a defense pretty easily, and he does it in the most, and everybody that's watched him play, he's the most awkward looking dude on the planet.
Yeah, we had a comment from him. We had a comment here that says his football IQ is insane.
Yes. But now the other thing is, and I can attest to this, and I hate to say it as a Bayern fan, but Jadon Sancho and Erling Haaland, their football IQ is massively underrated for kids.
Yeah, that's mate. Do you know what? I'm glad you said that, and that's why I said when I introduced you that you don't have that biasness to you. And look, they've got a lot. No, you don't, because no, you don't, because somebody that's biased would just say they're trash, they're bricks, they're no good. The point I'm making is,
most of the time, but that's just banter.
Yeah, of course, and that when you have, that's what the difference is. You can have a serious conversation and a fan conversation. They're two different things. When I watched Haaland last week as an example, it was simple things. He wasn't doing trickery like Lionel Messi or dribbling like Eden Hazard does, but it was just little dips of the shoulder, starting run. Yeah, but it was dips of the shoulder, little early runs that he was making, creating space for people. He chased deep for a ball that the centre back run with him, that created space for Hazard to run into, and he knew what he was doing. He knew he wasn't going to get the ball, but he knew that if he run, he'd make that space in behind. That's football intelligence, and Sancho's very much the same. I've been watching clips and footage of him all week, breaking down what he does in the attacking phase, and it's just, yes, there is some good skill and good passes, but the majority of his brilliance is thinking quickly. And the good thing about the Thomas Mullers and any player that thinks quick is that you can last, as long as your body doesn't break down, you can last the test of time as your body slows down, because you're thinking. It's the non-intelligent, and this is, I think you always find it, unless their body physically breaks it. So you've got Wayne Rooney. It was his body that let him down, as an example. He couldn't play anymore at the highest level. But the more intelligent players last. They can still play, because
you can use
if your body holds
example, up. Well, you can use the example, and I know a lot of the England fans are going to laugh when I bring it up, but the MLS. When you have a guy like Didier Drogba, when you have a guy like Bastian Schweinsteiger, like Wayne Rooney, like David Beckham, guys that their body broke down to the point of they can't handle top flight European football anymore.
Yeah.
But their football IQ and their knowledge of how to play the game, they can come back to the MLS and extend their career by 5, 6, 7. In Beckham's case, he ended up going back to Europe after all of that.
And still delivering.
Yeah, but you look at a Wayne Rooney and a Bastian Schweinsteiger. Schweini, since the U.S. tour when Bayern played the MLS All-Stars and they blew his knee out, he was never the same player after that, because he couldn't play the way that he plays on a bad knee. Wayne Rooney was the same way. His body was breaking down. He can't play the way that he's used to playing. But when he went to the MLS and when Schweinsteiger went to the MLS, they could play the way that they played at a slower pace, because overall, the MLS is a slower paced game. Unless you go with like Devin's favorite team, Atlanta, which is a faster paced team, but you can still systematically break them down with a player that knows what the hell they're doing.
Yeah.
And Wayne Rooney making goals from midfield and 30 miles away because the goalkeeper's a complete and utter moron. That's the biggest thing. If Bastian Schweinsteiger, and Man United fans know very well, Bastian Schweinsteiger was a failure at Man United.
Yeah, he was.
Y'all should have never bought him to start with. That was a bad move on your part. But when he came to the MLS, he hadn't been able to dribble for 4 years. But when he went to the MLS, he was dribbling around defenders like he looked like you know what I'm saying, like a young Messi.
Yeah, and that's because the MLS, with all due respect, the MLS level is below it's lower than the Championship. It's lower than the The second division in England is better.
Yeah, but your football IQ never goes away as long as your body can take it. You're going to be fine. Young players that have a great footballing IQ or can find space that doesn't exist is a Kai Havertz. Kai Havertz is probably the best in the world besides Thomas Muller at doing it. Because Kai Havertz will be, and I know you're going to do this, a scouting on him later. And once you start looking at him, you're going to start seeing comparisons to a Thomas Muller of finding space and creating chances, and a Mesut Ozil that's an old, like the old version, not the ghost of Christmas past that you have now, but the actual one that Arsenal got to start with. It would be like Ozil and Thomas Muller had a baby. You got Kai Havertz. But the footballing IQ of young players, like even a Marcus Rashford, Jadon Sancho, Erling Haaland, Julian Brandt, Serge Gnabry, those guys are starting to change the game because of their pace, the physicality that some of them have, and just finding that spot that not many people can find, and it seems like that's going to be the more modern player.
What's interesting as well is for years we tended to have technically good players and fast players. The scary thing is just now when you're getting, as you say, these fast players who are also technically gifted, and that's why Lionel Messi is such a phenom, because if you take the goals away for a moment, which is in itself is extraordinary, he can dribble, he's fast, but he can also stand still and just orchestrate a midfield with his passing. Like he's so good at what he does. You know, is he as good as a Xavi or an Iniesta or a Paul Scholes at that? No, not in my opinion. But he's still absolutely brilliant. Where he's scary is, though, is when he stands there with the ball, people are less likely to want to run at him to try and tackle him because he can dribble past you. Where, you know, the Scholes and Xavi and Iniesta didn't have that ability, but it's or the ability at the same level, of course. So yeah, no, you're getting more and more of it, and it's because teams are working on it more. You know, I think, you know, if I look at England as an example, for years, if you were quick, if you were quick and big, you were stuck up front. If you were quick and small, you were stuck on the wings. And all they made you work on was knocking the ball past someone and running and then crossing it into the box. There wasn't any work on your thinking. There was no work done on thinking and how to learn to play the game and the intricate side of things, which I know European football spent a lot more time developing their youth with. And it's why our current youngsters coming through, in my opinion, are so much better technically than 20 years ago. Even though we had amazing footballers, if we would have brought the golden generation up playing football how we do now, that's one thing. Secondly, there was also a rule in England up until about 7-8 years ago that only allowed like academy players to practice football an hour a day, where our European counterparts, you know, countries like Germany and Spain, their players are getting 3 to 4 hours a day. So yeah, but that's the thing. If I train for an hour a day and you train for 4 hours a day, you know, in the space of a year, I can never catch up. I can never catch up with the amount of training you've done. It's impossible. There's not enough time in the world. So that's another reason why that's why now we're seeing a lot more English players going abroad and playing. Why? Because we grow up in academies where we play ball in the same way. So, you know, and you're starting to see England become a better team now. You know, I still think we're another generation away from playing football at the same level as the Germans and the Spanish, but it will happen. And that's one of the biggest reasons is we're just training more now. And it's sometimes it isn't this big. We don't need a big inquest into why Germany are better at football than us. Well, or their kids play 3 hours, 4 hours a day, and our kids play 1 hour a day. Yeah, maybe that's a problem. Yeah. There we go.
And I mean, and one of the biggest things with person just put in the comments, all the best U.S. footballers play defensive back in the NFL. That's one of the big things here is pay to play. Right. You're looking at Europe where you're not paying thousands and thousands to have kids be able to play football on a mass scale. Here, if you're not a well-off to higher middle class family, you're not going to play that sport. Just solely because you don't have the financial standing.
Yeah, exactly.
And Germany after I believe it was the 2010 World Cup, they completely exploded the entire youth ranks and everything, and built their entire footballing program from the ground up.
Yeah, I get that. What you said there about
that's when it became what it is.
Well, what you said there about America,
even though in the World Cup this past year in Russia, it was a catastrophe, but that was just solely because, well, our coach is a fucking moron.
Yeah, no, but, I get that. I mean, what you said there about the class situation in America, it's true that football is a working class sport, and the only place in the world where it isn't working class is America. As you say, it's middle upper class, which is interesting. I don't really feel like you get great. I don't know. Well, I think in football and certain sports, football being one of them, like fighting sports or another, I don't really think that non-working class people do well at it, and I don't know whether it's because you don't grow up with the same kind of hunger in your belly, if it's the same kind of grit. I don't know what it is. You know,
in this country, the people that aren't really well off play, and I don't want to make it a racial thing, but they tend to be of a person of color orient, and those players tend to go the route of the NFL, the NBA, those types of things, because it's an easier way of bringing communities together with your youth football team league, like American football team. And it's easier to do it that way because that's, you know what I'm saying, one of the things that brings communities.
But that's the same. Yeah, if suddenly you turned around in England and said to play football it's going to cost you thousands of pounds a year, the working class wouldn't play it anymore. So you're absolutely right. The working class people in England and Britain wouldn't be able to play football if it was going to cost them £3,000, £4,000, £6,000 a year, because none of us had that growing up. So you have to make it accessible, and that's where America will never have a team at the men's level. Will never be good enough. You'll never be good enough to win a World Cup, because I don't think you don't take the best athletes as a country. You are big enough to have some of the best athletes. You have some of the best athletes in the world in nearly every other sport, but you don't in football. Why? Because you're not picking from that pool.
Mm-hmm. But you're also looking at, and I hate to say it, with the growing pains of the sport in this country alone, you're never going to, at this point, you're never going to find a Messi type player or a Maradona type player, a Pele, the guys that are from the poorest of the poor areas. You're never going to find them because they're never going to be discovered in this country. Those kids that are that athletically sound are going to be in the AAU basketball, or they're going to run track or something. They're going to pick.
No, and I get that, because you don't, because the system isn't set up for.
But it's the same way England. It's the same way England was when it first started. When the game first started in England, you didn't have the working class.
No, it wasn't no, I mean, there's a Netflix show all about that. I haven't watched it, but I've kind of read some of the. It wasn't. It was a
Netflix show sucks.
Yeah, well,
it's Downtown Abbey.
I know, but it draws on the origins of the sport as an example, and it's there's an old saying. There's a saying in the UK that football is a gentleman's game played by thugs, and rugby is a thug game played by gentlemen. It's like the two sports switch sides. But no, listen, Brian, it's been great talking to you. I'm going to get back to scouting this game because I haven't really watched the first 26 minutes. We'll speak.
All right, well, give me a call, or I'll call you when it's Bayern versus Frankfurt, and we can keep it going from there.
All right, mate. Speak to you later. Take care. Cheers, mate.
All right.
Bye-bye. Nice chatting there to Brian Ryan. Do me a favour, hit the like and share button if you're watching over on Hot Mic. Please hit the like button there as well. I hope you're all doing well. Is it possible to lower Terry's sound? Yeah, I can lower a little bit. Tell me if that's better, people. I can lower a little bit more. There we go. But let's watch some of this game. I keep an eye on it so far. Not really much has happened. As far as I can see, I haven't really seen too much go on in the game as of yet. But let's see what happens in this anyway. I'm going to load up this scene again. Go. I'll be back on the scene in a sec, people. Sorry. Put the stats in. How many shots has it been? Oh, yeah, only one shot each. I mean, again, I was only like briefly looking at it, but I didn't feel like very much was going on at all. There we go, 27 minutes in. I mean, it's not an easy game today for Dortmund, there's no doubt. Wolfsburg, they sit in 6th in the league. No Sancho, of course, either, but they haven't created very much at all. Only one shot on goal. Majority of the game's been in the middle of the park. But, you know, I'm so glad that I don't listen to the sound. I'm kind of used to it. For everybody else, not so great. Christian Pulisic will change everything. When young Americans see him making more money than LeBron James, kids will be like, oh wow, maybe that could be me. Yeah, maybe Greg. Maybe that's, you know, it may take, that's the one thing that could change it. It could take an American or two earning, hang on, how much was LeBron James making? I can't see him earning that. To beat LeBron James in earnings, you've got to be talking about earning what Messi and Ronaldo earn, and there's no way Pulisic's going to earn that. But he could certainly be one of the highest earners. Says, hope we can talk again during the Bayern Frankfurt match. Thank you, Bayern Ryan. I appreciate the super chat there. A massive support of the channel. Thank you very much, my friend. TD actually had another super chat. Says, John A. Brooks is a decent centre back, Terry, worth a watch. Okay, I'll have a little butchers. A little drink there. TD here again says, can I call Terry? And also John Anthony Brooks of Wolfsburg. Ah, is that who he is? Cool. Centre back, did you say? Where's he from with that name? That don't sound too German to me. He's a Yank as well, is he? What is he, 20? He's 27. Okay. I'll have a little butchers. That's what's been quite, for me, educational about this process so far, because I don't watch European football from a league point of view, so it's just I don't even know who half these players are, but you can still watch them and judge them. I'm not claiming to be an expert here, but what I have seen so far in this game is two teams just absolutely nullify one another with no real cutting edge play as of yet. Brent here on the ball, just fizzling out there. 29 minutes on the clock.
So save your judgment, cause you just don't know. But some things never change.
Yes, Cedric Levy, we know that, yes, the Spanish government has sanctioned the return of the league. They're all going to come back, and most of the money is going to come back, and then transfer window is going to open. We've got Max on the line now, ladies and gentlemen. Max, welcome to the Football Terrace. What do you want to say?
Hey, Terry, how you going?
I'm good, mate.
I just wanted to say that the John Anthony Brooks guy is a decent centre back, and because we've been linked with him. We've pretty much been linked with like half a century, you know, with everyone, and he's been really, really decent for playing for Wolfsburg, and there's a few games that I've actually watched. You know, a few games that I've watched Wolfsburg play, and you know, obviously they have been pretty much hit or miss this season, but it has been quite a sort of up and down stop season, considering that obviously there was the coronavirus and everything else. But yeah, he's a decent centre back, obviously, as Brian just said. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard for me to judge because I haven't seen him play before, and I'm just learning. It'll probably take me about 2 or 3 months of watching this level of this football to learn it, if that makes sense, and know who players are. I'll take your word for it. I can't put anything down. It's just weird, and maybe it's a real unhealthy bias that I have in myself. But whenever I see an American flag next to a football player's name, they've got a chance here. Haaland, we missed 1-0 though. So when I say Haaland missed, he missed the ball first of all, and someone's coming at the far post. I'm not sure who it is because what I'm watching is great. Is that the left back again? Guerrero scored again.
Yeah. Guerrero is actually technically playing left mid, but
yeah. But there is 1-0 though. Oh wow, that was a decent. I want to see this here though, because it looks like lovely bit of skill there by Brent. Feeds the ball in. Ikimi puts the ball in. Hazard cuts it back. Haaland misses the ball. If I was Haaland.
What Brian was saying about you know, Muller and obviously Kai Havertz as well. I'm just going to say that, obviously Julian Brandt does a very similar thing in terms of the way he creates space for, Haaland and Guerrero and everything else, Guerrero. And as you just saw there, like, obviously Julian Brandt breaking into space and then Guerrero from the back post there. Well, over the course of many games, I think he plays for Dortmund, so he's quite a scary prospect for any team, considering obviously Dortmund's front three and everything else.
No, I get that completely. I think I only really can go by what I read, if that makes sense, and what people tell me. I think Thomas Muller's an interesting one because I've always rated him. What I've seen about Thomas Muller in recent times is whenever I see him play, it's Champions League, and I just see the timeline fill up with he's overrated, he's washed, have hopes the other day saying he's a brick and all this type of stuff. And I'm like, okay, and I kind of sit there and go, okay, cool, I don't agree or disagree because I think I don't watch him play. And then I watched him play last week and I thought I just thought he looked excellent in a Bayern Munich shirt. And then you start looking at the facts and figures behind it, He's one of the leading creators in European football. And I sort of sit there and think to myself, well, if he's one of the leading creators in European football, where's the respect? Like, where's the respect? It's a madness. I just find it strange. And if you look at his record as a football player, when he was a goal scorer, he was winning things. He's a creator, he's winning things, and people just, I don't know. People just want to. I think that, again, I go back to this. I want to study it before I make an outright claim. But there's a certain culture war going on in football, and I just feel like if you're a footballer and you're not someone who's seen as silky, skillful, and overtly exciting, you're slagged off. If you look like a Thomas Muller, you look like a Harry Kane. If you look like a Haaland, it's like, ugh, you're not a baller. But yet, if you're shorter, skillful, and do some Lego step overs, regardless of the outputs, people say you're a better footballer, and they sort of use it's the ability phrase all the time. And I just sort of think that's where the ability argument falls down for me, because I don't know what I would. And again, you can get into the nuances, and people say, yeah, but this guy influences more. He does this. He wins the man of the match more. Listen, give me a player that sets up and scores goals nearly every single game over someone that wins the man of the match every game, but doesn't always produce. And I think there's a culture war going on in football, and it's efficiency versus flair at the moment. And what you really want is flair and efficiency together, but you get these people that will pick flair over efficiency, which I think is weird. And those people that would pick flair over efficiency, they're the kind of people that I would never employ in any of my businesses. I'd never employ them, because they're the kind of people they care more about style than they do substance. And I'm not saying you can't have both, but a lot of players don't have both who get rated, in my opinion. And give me substance every day of the week.
Well, I mean, like, I was gonna say that, obviously, there's a lot of people that want more flair than obviously hardworking players. Hardworking players pretty much are the backbone of any team. I mean, obviously look at Liverpool, for example. Obviously they got Wijnaldum, they've got Henderson, which obviously once Henderson wasn't in there against the Watford game, they looked all out of place. You know what I mean? But they still have the flair players, like you've got your Salah, you've got your Manes, you've got your Firminos, you've got your other players that can be the potential spark and everything else. Muller is that for Bayern. Muller does so much work off the ball that some of it that's not been seen by many fans. People don't see what he does off the ball. It's the same with like some people don't rate. Some people don't rate Bruno Fernandes.
No, I get it, but what I would say again, it's not about hard work. I think I get where you're coming from, mate. I think that's an oversimplification in many ways, in the sense of, I don't think it's hard work versus flair. It's efficiency and substance. And when I say substance, I mean you can still be a technically gifted player and be in the substance category. I'm talking about people that deliver. So Bruno Fernandes is an example. There are loads of things that he won't be able to do that an Eden Hazard does. I'm just throwing it out there as an example. And I think Eden Hazard is top class. It's probably the wrong type of person to express, because they play different positions. But the point I'm making is, I would pick somebody who delivers in 80-90% of their games over somebody with a much better ability and even a higher ceiling, but only delivers in 50-60% of their games. And it's not about you prefer. It's purely, I want efficiency, because I know football is about entertainment, but you are definitely more entertained when your team is scoring and winning. And I think you need the mix, and that's what I don't, and that's what I think it comes down to. I think it isn't going, oh, Henderson is better than Eden Hazard because Henderson is more essential to his team or Henderson works hard. I think that's taking it too far. The point I would say is if I'm looking at two midfielders and they're both got very good ability, I'm going for the one with more substance and more outputs than the other. Do you get what? And that's all it comes down to.
No, I completely agree with you. But the point I was trying to make was that, you know, obviously people don't rate the hardworking players as much as, you know, the flair players. But I mean, you've got to have you've got to have a balance between the two. And, you know, you can't have too much of one and less of the other. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah,
but, your team certainly needs that balance, and there's no doubt. And I think, you know, we were talking last night with the Hazard Mo Salah situation, and I think they're pretty close. In whatever, in anybody's rankings, if you think Hazard's better or Mo Salah's better, they're close. Nobody thinks there is a gulf. The Grand Canyon is separating their footballing ability. So I think they're very, very close. So for me, if I think they're very, very close, which I do, how am I going to differentiate them? It's going to be with their outputs. Do you get where I'm coming from? If I look at two midfielders, and I think, oh, they're both very good. Who do I want? Then I'm going to look at their outputs. You know, if someone says to me, oh, who's better, Pepe or Sancho? They both play, generally speaking, on the right-hand side of the attack. Oh, you know, Pepe's got so much ability. Sancho's got so much ability. They're different players. How do I differentiate? There's two ways. One, what kind of player do I need for my team? And if we decide in a magical world they're both the same type of player, they're creators and goal scorers, which I think you would call them both that, who delivers the most? Whose outputs? Who then? That's how I'd make my mind up. You know, if I look down at if I'm interviewing someone for a job, I go, right, okay, their CVs stack up. They've pretty much got the same level of experience. You know, I interview them and they've both got great personalities. Then I'm going to ask, if I'm still neck and neck, if I can get in the chat, I'm going to go, can you show me what your outputs were in your last job? You know, I think both of you have worked for three of the biggest blue chips in the world. You've interviewed and your personalities are amazing. You both fit in. Can you show me what you delivered in your last jobs? Oh yeah, I done this many units and maintained this, and the income was this to the company. Okay, this person brought in 10 million pound more in sales, and they're neck and neck and everything else. I'm going with the one who brought 10 million pound more in sales because their output's better. That gives you. Do you get where I'm coming from? And I think that's what people try and get away from that. People try and get away from it and say, "Oh, you're saying that Jordan Henderson is a better footballer than Zidane?" No. That isn't the argument. But if I'm comparing Zidane versus another player of his ilk to go into my team, I'm picking the one whose outputs are best, and it's outputs of which you need. So it isn't just about assists and goals. It could just be, I need someone who keeps possession. I need a player who is the key pass before the assister. And do you know what? When I've broke down the footage, Zidane is opening up space for the chance creator 10 times a game. The other guy we're looking at, who's also brilliant, he's only doing it 4 times a game. So for me, because they're neck and neck, and that's the difference. People don't go down to that level of intricacy. What do you want the player there to do? Yeah, I need my holding midfielder to be breaking up play. I need someone who breaks up play. Okay, what about Ndidi versus who we're going to throw in there next to him as the other one? Thomas Partey. Cool. Do you know what? On ability, it's very similar. And what you go for, what are you going to break? Both got great personalities, both got good fitness records. What are you going to put it down to? Well, I need someone who wins the ball back. Okay, so we need to look at interceptions and recoveries. Who's doing it best? And then there's other things you've got to look at as well. My new stat software does this, where you can look at how someone does when they're winning, how someone does when they're losing on the team, and how someone does when they're booked. So I would go to that level of due diligence on a player and go, but look, indeed he is winning on their outputs in all of the scenarios. Even though their abilities are similar, I'm going for the guy with the best output. For what I need for my team. And that's the thing that fans never want to go into that level of detail because they're scared that their favourite player might not come out on top, which is nonsense. It should just be about who delivers the best in their position and what outputs do you need for your team, because that's, as you said, that's how you create balance.
Yeah, well, I mean, and also I think there's a huge sort of, I think, because you were saying it like, I think ages ago, you were saying that you prefer Harry Kane as a striker over a few others, and that's your personal preference. I think there's a lot of sort of player bias in terms of the way that people rate certain other players. You know, obviously some people rate Sancho, some people don't rate Sancho. I think it's all like relative. You know, it's all like it comes down to who do you prefer over the other person, and I have a feeling that's a lot of the reason why some people don't rate him and do rate him, and then it comes down to certain other players as well. I mean, it's not just purely like, you know.
Yeah, well, I had a comment here from someone. So I had a comment here that says, not really, Terry. Iniesta and Xavi don't have the best stats, but trust me, they balled. Yeah, but you're not listening to what I've just simply sit there and said. It isn't just about goals and assist stats. It's about that there are other statistics out there that you can look into. You know, how often, you know, I need midfielders that don't lose the ball regularly. So then you find midfielders that are not, and that was something that Xavi and Iniesta did brilliantly. They kept the team ticking forward. They could pass forward, backwards, and sideways at the right times, pull off those passes to keep possession. But equally, they would retain possession under pressure. All these things can be statistically and analysed with the eye, so on a video basis, and with statistics. You can see that. You know, if you need somebody who holds on to possession, it's great. Oh, look at that, 90% ball retention when they're passing back, forward and backwards. Oh, but look, it's only 25% retention when they go forward with the ball. But that's going to be no good for us. You know, we need someone that does it in all directions. Then once you get the statistics to back it up, then you watch them with your eye. So Xavi and Iniesta, I don't expect them in their positions to have the assist levels of a number 10 or the inside forwards. But I would expect them to have brilliant ball retention statistics, which they did. I would expect them to very rarely be dispossessed in the central areas for how I want to play, because we're a possession-based team. They could do that. And again, you could physically see that would be the case, but you also would see that with statistics, because you can look at it. So again, you can look at statistics to back up any kind of player. You just have to look for the right statistic. The point being is, if you're going to compare Xavi to Kevin De Bruyne and do it all on stats, well, Kevin De Bruyne is better than them at that. But that was his job. You know, they had a different role in the team. So you've got to compare an apple with an apple. And when you do that, and you get two players and you put them alongside one another, like you would say Iniesta and Xavi collectively, how would you differentiate between the two, who becomes the best? Their ability is brilliant, their performances are brilliant, their character is brilliant. So how do you determine who's best? I'd then go to their outputs. Who actually, statistically, is then good? So this is what I'm saying to you. If you're going to compare players, compare player in position versus position and ability versus ability, right? And then once you've done all that and they're pretty much neck and neck, then it goes to statistics. That's literally the long and the short of it for me. And I can't understand why that doesn't make sense to some people. The only reason that wouldn't make sense to people is who realise that, oh shit, if I do that, my guy's not coming out on top because I've already checked it. And that tells you all you need to know, that your guy weren't as good. Like, point blank. So Max, look, I'm going to chip, because I haven't actually done any real analysis on this game yet. I'm going to chat to you again soon, mate. All right, thank you very, very much. Been a great chat.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, mate. Take care. Thank you. Comment here says, yeah, that's the stat you should be looking for, but mostly talk about goals and assists. Well, I talk about goals and assists when I talk about attacking players. You never hear me talk about N'Golo Kante and a goal, assist and goals. Come on, John. Don't make things up about me. It never happens. It never happens. I only talk about goals and assists when it comes to attacking players, because that's their main output. Dortmund are in again here on the right-hand side. My connection, though, is so bad. I can bet it's like the worst. It's not in HD at all, which means I can't really work out who's who. Positionally, you sort of can. Terry, why did I shave my head off? Because it's locked down, you can't get a haircut, so I shaved it off. That's a weird bloody question. It's a very weird question for someone to ask you. Zaha is a great example of skill over substance. For me, there just isn't a lot of substance from him. And, you know, yeah, none. No, there isn't none. But it's low. Compared to how hyped up he is in this 70, 80 million pound price tag, I can't understand it. Borussia Dortmund 1-0. It is half-time in this game. If you want to come on, have your say, let us know. But this game, by the way, is boring. It is so boring. I have to say, so far, I've watched 3 Bundesliga games. There is no crowd, so I take that. Like, Dortmund looked okay against Schalke, but the Bayern Munich game the other day was trash. This game so far, oof. I don't know. Maybe it's because I've got no vested interest. Top Dog says, I don't believe Hazard's ability is way below his outputs. He's an elite finisher. Yeah, listen, I don't disagree with you. But that isn't my issue when it comes to. That isn't and never has been my issue with Eden Hazard. Again, listen to what my issues are. When people tell me that over the last 7-8 years he's been the undisputed best in the Premier League, I find that an overstatement. To say undisputed, undebatable best, I find that disrespectful. And when people tell me that he's at Messi and Ronaldo's level, that's all you're doing is overstating him. Everything else, you're fine to say. KJ, welcome to the channel, bruv. How are you?
I'm alright, thanks. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm very good. I'm good, mate. What are you up to?
I'm just editing a video and watching the Dortmund game.
Yeah, what do you think of the game so far?
It's just been drab, really.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Mate, do you know what? It's crazy, right? I know with the crowd it'd be a little bit more entertaining, but I'm only 3 games into my Bundesliga career, and I'm enjoying learning about another game. I'm not going to deny that. But from an entertainment point of view, it doesn't have so far for me. It doesn't have what the Premier League has, and maybe I'm being really biased, but I'm kind of watching it. I'm just thinking, this is how I would describe my Bundesliga experience so far from a footballing point of view. Even though there's been some brilliant little moments, it's just meh. I just feel meh. That's all I feel about it. And maybe it's the crowd thing. I don't know, but
I don't know. Maybe it's the fact that it's still pretty early in terms of everyone coming back and no one's at their true level yet. Like we don't know. And to be fair, I wanted to come and talk about that actually in terms of leagues and how we rank them and how fans look at them. Because especially in England, say if a player comes to England or starts off in England and they don't do well, and then they go somewhere else and do well, they get called a failure in the Premier League, and they just weren't that good, and they kill it in other leagues just because that league's worse. But I'm like, well, that's not necessarily the case. Why? I don't think that's kind of fair in the other leagues, because some might just be more technically more astute than the Premier League, and so a technical player might do fare better in those leagues just because it suits their style. And so I'm wondering, over here we see the Premier League as the biggest and the best because it attracts more people and it's more entertaining in that way. But then I wonder how other countries look at the Premier League, and is it actually as good as we think it is in terms of a football sense?
Do you know, it's a really, really good question. It's a really good question. I think that my view is, again, preference is a big thing in all of this. Or what do you prefer? The fact that, forget what the Germans think and the Brits think, as an example. We'll just look at these 2 leagues. Forget what we think about. Generally, we'll back our own national league. Yeah. I always find I get very weirded out by people that are English, support an English team, but then say, well, like the third, fourth, but they slag our league off. I always find those people strange people, but I think it's a preference thing. The reason why I say the Premier League is the best is because we get the biggest global audience, which means more people buy into it. And I get something, we just sell it better. And I think, come on, they've got good salespeople in Germany and Spain as well. Like there's consultants for everybody to sell these things. The fact is, people buy into ours more. The crowd noise is part of it. The competitiveness is another. And also, I think there's a bit more, again, which seems to annoy a lot of fans of the British game, but there is a bit more blood, sweat and tears. There is more of a variety of footballer in our league. So if you look at, okay, you kind of watch even the middle of the road stuff in Spain and places, it's still pretty technically good. You won't get a Burnley. But I love the fact that we have a Burnley, and that you get where I'm coming from. We have a bit of that. You know, we have a team that will go long ball, and I think it makes it more interesting as an example. Because if everybody tried to play like City, it would just be too easy for the top teams. So I kind of feel that all adds into it as an example. But in relation to some people flopping and others not doing so well, that's just, I think a lot of that is cultural in terms of living in another country that's so different from your own, you know, and if you listen to, and then it's your own mental strength to learn how to adapt. You know, Patrice Evra speaks about it perfectly when he said that he first game for Man United, it was a 12:30 game against City, funnily enough, and he said at like 8 a.m. in the morning he was eating like dinner, like pasta and stuff, and it made him feel physically sick, and he struggled in the game, and he got taken off I think at half time, sitting on the bench. And he just said he sat there thinking, what a mistake I have made. Get me back to France, get me back to Monaco. I can't do this. But he had the strength of mind to work through it. And it took him, 12, 18 months until he was a proper regular at Manchester United. But then he would never look back and regret it. And it isn't to say that other people are weak. It's just to say some people might come in, struggle with the culture, the lifestyle. You know, I remember one of my clients was Llorente when he was at Swansea. And I used to go to Swansea once every sort of 5-6 weeks and see some of the guys there. And I loved it. I loved driving through the valleys. Their training ground was in the middle of the mountain and hillsides. It was amazing for me because I'd go there once every 5 or 6 weeks and it was beautiful. And I remember asking, what's it like? And this is the guy that had lived in Bilbao. This is a guy that had lived in Turin, I think is the place that Juve is in. And now he was in Swansea where there was nothing. There was a couple of restaurants, but there was nothing to do and nowhere to go. So I'm not saying he didn't flop there, by the way, but if you suddenly move to the UK from a completely different culture and you're now in a town where there is nothing going on, there's nothing happening, I can completely understand why maybe, just maybe, it doesn't quite work for you. And I don't think it's about league all the time. It's about the combination. And the same can go for Brits, you know. What our life, I think, especially Brits that grew up in the 70s, 80s, 90s, that, you know, there's a drinking culture, a lad culture, a gambling culture. You go to the foreign clubs, none of this existed. So you'd go over there and be like, right, we've finished training on a Tuesday afternoon, we're all going down the pub, and everyone's like, no, we're going home to our families. That would be a shock to your system, and maybe, just maybe, it puts you off your game because you're out of sync. But yeah, it's a real tough one. But for me, I would just say Premier League all day long.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Fair explanation. For me, it's just like come a thing where like every other league is now a farmers league besides the Premier League and La Liga. I'm just like, well.
In einer schwierigen Situation musst du erfinderisch sein.
And PSG and all these other teams from other nations that are farmers leagues, why are British teams struggling with these teams if the Premier League is so much better?
My answer would be, I think the top teams in those leagues are brilliant, first and foremost. But it was only last year, you know, we were slapping a lot of teams at both levels of the European game in terms of those competitions. And you go through cycles where those things happen. I think the Farmers League thing, one, is banter, because what people try to do. I was watching Kai Havertz's goal here, sorry, just as it's showing a replay. See, that's just, for me, when I see that goal, right, it's a very good team goal. That's just how Bruno Fernandes is going to score goals, running from deep, getting on. It was, but I rate the goal. Nothing spectacular about what he just did there. But he's a hype player. Like, for me, I look at it, it was a run from deep. Do you know what that was? That was Frank Lampard-esque. Great though, I like it. I think on the people use it as Man United are signing a player from the French league. Right, we'll just call it Farmers League. Oh, what? Liverpool just beat. Yeah, but so what if you beat a Bundesliga team? They're a Farmers League. You know, at the moment, because we had the guy on the other night, didn't we? Because Haaland's killing it, and this guy has clearly got an issue with Haaland. Even though we tried to deny that he hadn't, he definitely did. Why is he getting the attention and this guy isn't? Because your guy's not trash, but your guy just didn't make it at the highest level, did he? Like, facts. So you're calling the Bundesliga Farmers League. You're downplaying the quality of it because it suits your purpose, as an example, and you know it just don't sit right with me. Do you get where I'm coming from? You know, it just doesn't sit right with me. I don't like the expression Farmers League. You know, someone will come from France and not do well. Others will come from France and kill it, and the same works in all different directions. There's been a few Premier League players that have left and gone abroad, not made it. There's been some young British players that have gone abroad and killed it. You know, Sancho's a standout example, but killed it. Gareth Bale has gone abroad. I think, barring injury, on the field has done well, right? So yeah, it's just people like to play it down, and it's horses for courses, you know. Like Varane didn't make it in the Premier League. Diego Forlan didn't make it in the Premier League, but they had world-class careers, and it doesn't for me tarnish them. It does also show how good Cristiano Ronaldo is. That everywhere that son of a gun goes, he kills it.
Zlatan, if you remember
Zlatan, yeah,
disgustingly good at the game, and it's not fair.
Yeah, no, they really do. They do. But yeah, for me, I just feel like, I'm getting. Hang on a second. How is Kai Havertz hyped? Of course he's hyped. Being hyped isn't a bad thing, bruv. I said he's hyped. Did I say overhyped? I said hyped. I swear I said hyped. He says, guy's potential up there with Sancho. Yeah. Oh God. Do you know what I love about people that watch my show? Yeah. Is I feel like, and Ali Osman is one of them. It's almost become their like life's ambition. I reckon some of these people will pull it on their CV when they go for a job. Yeah, I once out-debated Terry Fleurs on the football terrace. I think that's almost one of their goals in life. I'm not saying he is hyped. I didn't say it's a bad thing. I didn't slag off the goal. I just said it's a simple goal. And it is. But the point is that some players do something simple and they're lauded for it. Other people do things simple and they get called basic. I'm only pointing out the differences. Like, I agreed with what I was on the Coppice show last night, and they spoke about Sancho and saying he doesn't do anything like exceptional and out of the ordinary that I haven't seen before.
Yeah.
And I almost agree with that. I've been watching some things. There was a nice chip pass that I detailed earlier, which I think was very, very good. But it's his consistency and ability to pull these things off that I love. And by the way, at the elite level, he isn't Sancho isn't going to reinvent the game. And nor, by the way, is Bruno Fernandes. I'm not even claiming that, but they're just efficient. They push out and they're brilliant at what they do. Kai Havertz, for me, from what I've seen, looks very talented. Like the timeline I could see on Twitter was trending. He's at it again. He's amazing. And I watched the goal and I just thought, that was a good run from deep and a good little finish. I didn't look at it and go, oh my God, I've just seen something I've never seen before. But the point is, he's still a top player. I'm not slagging him off. I just find it interesting that certain individuals are like spoken about like they're God, and others are called overhyped. I mean, maybe I'm being paranoid here. I just feel like anyone who's linked to Man United suddenly gets called overhyped. Anyone who's linked to Liverpool, Arsenal, or Chelsea is seen as an absolute superstar. Like, have you noticed how not one Chelsea fans everywhere will call a player from the French league, for instance, Farmers League, overhyped? You notice that none of them are like saying that about Ziyech. They shouldn't be, but they're like, no, Ziyech is cool. We've done it. Like, people they twist and turn their standards of players to fit their own agenda. It's fucking boring.
It's just humans, and we always want to be right. So if you always are positive about players that you are linked to, and then as soon as they go somewhere else, you're negative. In their mind, I always look right because my position's never been tarnished. But like that just makes it look worse in my opinion. I understand what you're saying about people doing simple things but getting overhyped. I think all it is, I think when, like, let's take Kevin De Bruyne for instance. He does so many simple things right that as soon as he does it again, like, it's amazing. He always does it. It's always consistent. And
that's the point I was about to pull out there. So what Kai Havertz done is it was a fairly simple run. But it's the fact that he's going to be one of those players to me that continually finds himself in the right times. Why? Because he knows when to start running and when not to. And what will end up happening with Kai Havertz is the same. It's exactly the same thing that I said about Haaland last week. The run in itself is simple, but it's the timing of the run that's brilliant. And then, can you consistently do that without people picking you up? Can you find and be in the right spaces? I think Kai Havertz has got the ability to go and do that. What's always interesting is that depending on who you are and at what stage you are of you being hyped up and what club you're at, people will overlook that because it won't be seen as... and what will happen, someone like him will come to the Premier League and all the rivals will then look at Kai Havertz and go, yeah, but he ain't twining a man up. He doesn't put anyone on their bum. Where's his leg overs? Where's his step overs? What's his dribbling ability like? Man don't need to dribble. And that's my point. It's nothing about it. It's like, whoa, I'm so impressed. From a wow, I've seen something I haven't seen before. My view is a bit like with Haaland. It's like, look at that run. That run is quality. The reason that I was probably downplaying it is I would read in the timeline And I'm seeing people raving about this goal he just scored. I mean, oh, that was it. When you break it down, great, the run was good as an example. He created the space. He obviously had to finish it. But I thought my whole point stands. I find it interesting that someone like Kai Havertz is being raved about, and I'm now being told off for calling it simple goal. But the same people last week called Haaland's goal simple. And I'm like, well, you're the hypocrite here. I'm saying the runs are good for everybody. You're saying that a run from Kai Havertz is world class, but a run from Haaland makes him an average player. Do you understand that, KJ? Or am I just, or am I missing something here?
I get what you're saying. It's just all the popularity first one, isn't it? No, also I find out as well is that you're saying people do simple things and then because of who they are. That you shouldn't be doing on a football pitch against professional football players. He does it week in and week out, and then all you get is, oh well, he's just showboating. I'm just like, bro, he just rainbow flicked over a man twice. Like,
yeah. And do you know what? And do you know what I say about Neymar? The reason I rate Neymar is because that guy has output. He has output. If he was doing all them rainbow flicks, but man was picking up 10 goals a season, I wouldn't be liking the guy. I'd be like, what? Why are you doing that, bruv? You know. But he has output, and you've got those two things. You've got those things that you've got to put together. And for me, it's one of those things where I look at players, and it's a case of Harry Kane, Haaland, Sancho will fall into that bracket soon. Bruno Fernandes is starting to get it now. It's starting to creep in. Rashford is another. Like, they're just down. Everything good they do is downplayed. Like, it's a basic, normal thing. But I see other individuals that do normal, basic things, and it's raved about as being intelligent, IQ, football brain, but not others. But it's all, again, it's about people trying to win their battle. And for me, if you're going to rate about one person's skill, you rave about all people's skills. I'm consistent. If a guy does a rainbow flick, controls it, and then whips the ball out to the right-hand side and finds his man in space who gets a cross in, well done for the rainbow flick. You do the rainbow flick, and then your eye's on the ball, and then someone comes and crunches you and wins the ball off you. What a dickhead. Why'd you do it there for? It didn't come off. Do you get where I'm coming from? And if you make an intelligent run and your name is Rashford, I'm raving about it. If your name is Tammy Abraham, you make a brilliant run, I'm raving about it. It's as simple as that. What I saw there from Kai Havertz, for me, was a simple goal compared to the hype that I just saw on social media. When you break the goal down, really intelligent run, and that should be applauded. But the point I'm making, I'll say it again, though you already know this, is some people will be applauded for those kind of runs. Other people, we're told it's simple. And then people fall for the trap when I say it's simple. You put a little bit of bait at, and they come flickering in like the fish they are. But there we go.
But yeah, like a prime example of it is, do you remember Jordan Ayew's goal this season against, who was it? I want to say West Ham. But he went on a run, did a half turn in the middle of the run, and then slide it home. No one talks about that goal because it's Jordan Ayew. Like, he ain't that guy, you know what I mean? He ain't the guy with skill and tricks and stuff. But if Martial did it, as much as I love Martial, and I would have gassed that Martial goal up to the days, like, Martial will get the hype and will get the gas. But because Andre Ayew,
I agree. Yeah, I agree. I agree, bruv. And the same thing we just seen here happen with the Kai Havertz thing, and I did it on purpose because I was watching some of the comments, and I'm like, right, let's just throw out like a little. Yeah, it was good. We'll praise it. So it's nice, and I won't put too much on it. And I'm waiting for it. Oh, you said Haaland's goals are brilliant. I was like, yeah, because you said they were rubbish, and I was waiting. I was waiting for the bait, and that's where it is, you know. I could do it to Man United fans easy. If Rashford scored a really good one-on-one, and I raved about it, and then Martial did, and I said, oh, that's basic. Watch them go crazy. But they do the same thing in reverse. Oh, they're in here, Wolfsburg. Oh my God, how did he miss? Where's that ball gone? Oh my God.
So far behind. Oh man.
Wait till you see this miss. I can't understand it.
Yeah, I'm on 47-10.
Going to happen in this. Oh my! Oh, I think he actually hits the crossbar. Okay. That's what made it look like it flew for. When you see it, that looked like it went really. When you see the replay, hit the crossbar. Actually, that's why I couldn't understand where the ball just disappeared. Yeah, it's the crossbar and flies up.
I think that's Stefan. Oh, what are you doing, man? Relax. And here's a prime example of what makes you a top player and what makes you an average player. Top players. You finish that casually, coolly, because you know you can do that. Stefan there, he's rushed, he's panicking. He's like, oh, I need to make sure I score this because we're behind, and flops it.
Yeah,
Now, I'm
do
not saying
you know what's mad? Like, I was watching, and that's where players, it's interesting. That's the one area of Rashford's game that I want to see improve further. So I still find, I was going back and watching some footage from a bit of last season and this season. There was the early chance against Barcelona at the Nou Camp that he did miss. He hit the crossbar as an example. Even the City game where we beat them at the Etihad in November, December time. Yeah, he scored that goal. He scored the penalty. But then he had those two chances where he should have buried and he should have got his hat-trick inside the first 30 minutes. Those two chances he missed, I kind of feel like I want to see those gilt-edged chances. I don't want to see every one of them go in because nobody does, but I want to see those gilt-edged, those dead certs. I want to see a 10 to 15% improvement on conversion on them moving forward. And that's not a massive amount of difference, but I just want to see a slight increase on that because you're always going to miss those opportunities. But as you say, those clutch moments in games, like for a fact that was Didier Drogba going through on goal there, and I know Drogba's next level. Clutch-wise, that's going in. Thierry Henry, that's going. Haaland, that's going in. You know that, like 100%. He's finishing that opportunity. I actually think Martial would have scored that as well, to be fair. But yeah, that was that guy put too much on it. He put too much on it. Too much on it.
I understand what you're saying about Rashford and his game, and I find it quite interesting when I've watched him, because he's in my top 5 favourite United players. Like when I watch him closely, and I've noticed that he, as a player, when he's got no time to think about what he can do, how he's going to do, and it's just reactions, he will finish the goal. That goal against Chelsea, where Pogba pull it over the top. He didn't have time to think about where he's going to put it.
Yeah, a couple of touches and he had to shoot. Yeah.
A couple of touches and a shoot. Against Tottenham last season, same thing. Against Leicester last season, same thing. When it comes to in the moment, I need to score, he will do it. But as soon as there's time, where he can either pick a pass or he can choose how he wants to score the goal. That's where I find that he lacks.
I think that will improve when the team gets better as well, though. I almost think there's an element of, am I going to get an opportunity again? And that puts that pressure on you. If you're playing for a team where if I miss this, in 5 minutes I'm getting another chance again, I think you're less likely to miss because those easier ones, because you know that you're going to get another opportunity. I feel like Man United, we barely create chances, so the element of this could be my one. If someone said to you, like, whatever it may be, this job interview, it's your one and only chance to get a job like this for the rest of your life. Imagine the pressure you're going to feel. Right? And I'm only giving that example because you don't go for jobs every day like footballers go for goals every day. There's more pressure. If you know that, okay, if I don't get this one, there's plenty more fish in the sea. Although you want it, there isn't that you're relaxing a little bit because it isn't like your life's going to come to an end otherwise. I think with Rashford, it's like I'm through. It's 60 minutes on the clock. We're 1-0 down. We've been put through 1-on-1. I need to score this because it's taken 60 minutes for us to open them up. Mathematically, there isn't enough time in this game for me to do it. So I think if we start becoming that team that creates those, again, we saw this after Bruno came in. We suddenly started creating the next 2-3 chances a game. We started scoring more goals. I just think the team felt more relaxed. Look at the goal that Martial did score against Watford. I don't think we're scoring that 2 or 3 months ago. I think he goes through, hits the shot, gets saved. I think he then just, instead of being cultured, controlling and turning, I think he would have just shot with the second touch. The first touch after the ball was saved, I think he would have just tried to have shot from that angle. That's what I really think would have happened. But yeah, it's one of those things. It's one of those things for me. A few people saying Kai Havertz has got more to his game than running. Yeah, I know he's technically good and gifted, but he's also a midfielder, so he should be better on the ball than a number 9 striker. I think that's a bit of a prerequisite. Again, people just not understanding what I'm saying here. It's good runs are good runs. They should be applauded for everybody. They're either simple or they're all good. You can't have the best of both worlds on these arguments, people.
Since we're just quick one before I have to go back to what I'm doing. Since we're talking about Rashford and United and Martial, both of them have braces this season, and they've always come close to that hat trick, and we haven't had a hat trick in like 7 or 8 years since Van Persie. So that's 7. Who do you think will get it? Who will get our first hat trick, and who would you love to see get our first hat trick since Van Persie?
I would love to see Rashford get it. I can't lie. It's the academy thing. I'd love it to be him. I get a feeling though it's going to be Bruno Fernandes that gets it. I think he's going to have one of them games where he'll pick up. It'll be against a smaller team, I think, And it would be one of those games where he picks up an early goal. Do you remember when Shinji Kagawa got a hat-trick? It'll be, I think Bruno will pick up an early goal, 5-10 minutes in, good shot. He'll pick up then it'll be one just after half time, and then we'll end up getting sort of like a penalty late on in the game, and it'll be one of them ones. But I think it's going to be Bruno Fernandes that gets it, and the hype train is just going to.
If that happens, oh my days.
Because midfield hat-tricks are rare, you know. I can't remember the last midfielder in the Premier League that got one.
Yeah, I think it might be De Bruyne, you know. I could see it being him because he likes to do stuff like that. I would love it to be Martial or Rashford just because they've always come close to it. I remember one time Martial was on a hattie and he got taken off and I was vexed because I was like, oh, just give him the chance, man.
Yeah. Do you remember when he was on 2 goals against Chelsea and come off? I know he was knackered, but I was like, oh, come on, man. We ended up conceding that goal as well. I remember thinking he could have got a hat-trick away. I mean, imagine a hat-trick away at Chelsea because up until this last, you know, we haven't had good results there up until the last couple of seasons where we've started to turn that round a little bit. I mean, I think Rashford has had a couple of breakage issues, but you just want to get, if either of them could get a couple of goals in the first half, then I'd be backing them to do it. Like, you'd be like, oh, come on, 2 goals. But I think there's almost that level of just, you want the pressure to be relieved. Yeah, the last Premier League hat-trick was against Villa, wasn't it? Yeah, 2013. I think Rooney and Van Persie have both got hat-tricks in the Champions League since then. But, yes, imagine that 7 years, no player. That shows how bad we've been. Not one player grabbed a hat-trick in 7 years. That's crazy. We'd have a player or two a year doing it before, if not more.
Yeah, haven't Man City had like 40-something since that point, since that last one? And it's just like, guys, come on. I know the frustrating thing and the upsetting thing is whenever someone is on a brace, they always get a hat-trick chance and they fluff it. I don't know if they realise how long it's been for a hat-trick, but I think because none of our players have scored a hat-trick, it's a daunting task on all of them.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's interesting. If you go, I remember watching an interview with Cristiano. It was the season where he went on to do the 44. And we were playing Newcastle, and it was an interview before the Newcastle game, and they were talking about how, you know, you used to score ones. You know, last couple of years you started scoring lots of braces, but no hat tricks. And Cristiano Ronaldo laughed and was basically saying how, my mum keeps teasing me about that, and I'll sort of do it soon. And that game, so I think it was a BT 5:30 kickoff game against Newcastle. He scored the hat trick in that game, and his hat trick goal put us 5-0 up. We were already winning the game, but he celebrated that like he got the winner because I think it was that milestone. And since that was his first hat trick, and that was like 2008. Between now and then, I don't want to say he's had 70, 80, but he may have done. Like, he's had so many. That might be too high. I might be absolutely wrong on that. I'm going to Google that.
I would not be surprised.
Let's just Google this. Let's Google this. How many hat tricks does Ronaldo have? All right, let's see how many he's got here.
He's got 34 Real Madrid.
He's got 56 career hat tricks. 8 have come in the Champions League. So yeah, 70 to 80 was too high. So I do apologise for that. Yeah, but 56 career hat tricks as a man. I mean, that's still just an absolute madness. I did shoot a bit too high there. I might have actually been thinking of. I must have seen that stat related to something else. There's been 70, might have been 70 or 80 in the Premier League since Man United's last one or something like that. It's something along those lines. But you've got to think, 56 career hat tricks. That's amazing. But that all stemmed from that point. So I think there's an element of saying, if Rashford or Marcel, either one of them gets it. By the way, over the moon happy. When I say, like, I can't even tell you how happy I would be with him doing that. If you get where I'm coming from, for me, it would just be, I'd be over the moon. I really, really would. I'd be absolutely over the moon. But whichever one does it.
Actually, I forgot one more person who did a hat trick. If Mason Greenwood got a hat trick in the next season, oh my, I am going off.
Peak.
I'm going off.
Peak. I think Kai Havertz has just scored again. But hang on though. Hang on. VAR getting involved here. My VAR. He has scored. Oh, it doesn't count though. It's not a real goal. It's a penalty.
Wait, have you switched games?
No, I just have read it's a penalty. That means my understanding is penalties are not real goals. So Kai Havertz only has one today. you see off around the bar? Listen. That's going to trigger him. It's not a real goal, so I don't want anyone talking about it. He has not scored a brace because one is a penalty. When Rashford scores goals that are penalties, we're told they're not really. You can't rate him because they're penalties. Yeah, I know the timeline. Oh, man's got a brace. He's a midfielder. He's a kid. I love it. By the way, well done, Kai Havertz. I think it's great you've converted the penalty. It's a very difficult thing to do. Do you get what I love it, mate? I love the fact. Literally.
Let's start putting Havertz and stuff like that.
Yeah, he's a penalty merchant. Someone here saying penalties do count. Yeah, I'm being sarcastic. I'm being...
The same people that are saying, it's only penalties and that, or the same people that when you miss a pen, they're like, how dare you miss a pen? What kind of player misses a penalty? You're just like, mate.
And just crazy there, right? I just saw that Julian Brandt, a ball got whipped across to him, easy to control. He went under his foot, right? Really bad control from him. I've seen him lose the ball with two bad first touches and then that touch there, right? I don't want him abused. But you know that was a particular player. You know that if that was a Pepe, you know that if that was a Raheem Sterling, if that was a Rashford that did the same mistakes, they'd be getting cased on social media. And that's the same thing, right? Certain players, one or two mistakes, and they're dragged over the coals for the entirety of the game, no matter what else they do. Other individuals, they can make 3, 4, 5, 6 mistakes like that in the game, and no one seems to care. You know, it's like I said to a guy last night, he said Lukaku's got a bad first touch. It's not a great first touch, it's comical when it goes wrong. But the facts of the matter are, he loses the ball less with his first touch than anybody else. Someone then responded with a comment, I loved it, mate, and said, yeah, but that's because people defend against Lukaku differently. They don't mark him as closely as they do the other strikers, so there's less pressure. And I'm like, can you show me the evidence that Lukaku's left alone and given all the time and space in the world he needs to control the ball? Like, people are literally lying, right? I then went and watched about six or seven bits of footage of him losing possession with the ball. He's got men up his ass. And you know, you're like, imagine lying just to push your fake point. It's crazy. But yeah, on the hat-trick situation, Terry, certain people don't want to hear his comment of other people's opinions or even facts if it doesn't suit them. Exactly. And like, my view is this. If people take it, oh, you're doing the same thing. Well, I'm not, because I'm not saying Kai Havertz hasn't got a brace today. I think he's got a very good goal from a good run. Demonstrates his intelligence massively. And the reason I wouldn't personally overhype it is because I think it's... No, I wouldn't... I'm not overhyping it. How do I say this? I think it's brilliant, and I feel like someone who makes good runs, it's almost... Everybody knows it's brilliant, so why do I need to explain that it's brilliant? But I end up having to with someone like Haaland because people don't recognise it. The fact that people recognise it in Kai Havertz means I'm not going to overstate it anymore because they're recognising the brilliance that run was. You know, I only point these things out when people, you know, someone did the thing on Ollie doesn't have a style of play. So you know a video is going to drop where I'm going to prove he does. I'm going to factually prove he has a style of play. You watch the Salt. And how I'll be able to prove it is by showing you stills and video footage of, well, look, on these attacks with Bruno where we ended up scoring, look where his position he took up. In exactly the same attacking patterns, Lingard was in that position, but he miscontrolled the ball. I know the evidence is... I just know, you know, like when I know the evidence is going to be there because they're not just going out there and doing whatever they want. They're following a pattern, right? The problem was the pattern was breaking down. You know, essentially, we couldn't see what the pattern was because we had missing pieces of the jigsaw. We now have them nearer, we're nearer to completing it, so we understand what the pattern is. Oh, what a shot. That save or the post-it there, Jesus. But on the hat-trick point you made, yeah, I think it... Oh, a good save, actually. I think that it could be a catalyst. Once one person gets it, we could see a few come along. You know, especially... And if it's Martial or Rashford, you can see them go on to go, that my confidence is there. It's like with Rashford with the free kicks. We saw him score that free kick. Yes, he hasn't scored one since. He's only had a couple since that point. But they were close as well. And I think that the confidence is then there for him. And when your confidence is high as a football player, different level, man. You can achieve things. You can achieve serious things. But yeah, I'm yeah, it's funny, man. I'm loving these comments right now. People are like, "Oh, you're so biased, Terry. How comes you've gone bald, Terry? My hair is thick and long." Oh, of course it is. That's from Ocean City Kurt. Ocean City Kurt, call us on video. We'll put you on the internet. See what you look like. See what you look like, bruv.
My man just been giving you grief about your hair like this entire time.
do you know something I find really interesting, right? Is the hairline abuse. It's like if I slag somebody's appearance off, then go after my hairline. I give a football opinion. When your response is my hairline, that tells me that I've smashed you on a football opinion, bruv. Because you're attacking my appearance when we're talking about football. Do you get where I'm coming from? Like, it doesn't actually upset me because, trust me, I've lived my best life. I'm grand, bruv. And life's good. Hair, no hair. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just an issue for me, right? But I kind of like, I always look at it and think, what makes somebody your hair, bruv? What about my hair? Does that hair make my opinion on Bruno Fernandes incorrect? What's the relevance of it? And it's just, and equally, like, you see people do it, right? And it's one of those things that hasn't yet fallen into the politically incorrect box. Does that make sense? Well, I think it theoretically should. There's a lot of men that speak about their hair loss and talk about how depressed it makes them and how vulnerable it makes them feel and how weak it makes them feel. And I'm like, it's funny how, like, when certain demographics of people explain how something makes them feel mentally unwell, it's still okay to take the piss out of it. But yet when others do it, it's like, you know, you're literally gonna have your Twitter shut down and lose your job over it. Do you get where I'm coming from? Like, if you ever go up somebody because they're overweight, like, you can get in genuine trouble. Here comes Sancho. You can get in genuine trouble for that. But yet if you take the mick out of someone because they're bald, which, by the way, in more cases than being overweight is uncontrollable, that's deemed okay. And I'm lucky; it doesn't bother me because, like, it just doesn't. But I find it's one of those PC things that I find very interesting. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, the goalpost is always changing with these things anyway. It's kind of like it's hard to keep track of, and that's why I think a lot of people do make mistakes. It's kind of like this. So, like I said before on that podcast, people are so scared of saying the wrong thing, they end up saying the wrong thing anyway.
Yeah.
And that's just because this thing is always changing, always evolving to be something else. Like, one day it'll be one thing that you can't say, the next thing it's the alternative of that word that you can't say that either.
Yeah.
What can I say then? Like, clearly you want me to say nothing because you're...
Well, I think people like being offended. I do think there's a percentage of the population that love it. They see it and go, oh, I'm so happy that someone's done this. I can now go on a tangent about it. And I sort of sit there and think, like, half the time I don't believe it. Like, you know, there's a great account on Twitter called Things That Didn't Happen. And every day there's 2 or 3 people's tweet. Like, there's a woman yesterday that sort of said, me and my husband bought a new car and we took it out for its first drive. By the way, this is in lockdown. And he goes, and then some old white man come over to us when we were at traffic lights and knocked on the window. And I wound down the window and he said, nice car, how much did it cost? So we told him, and then he asked us whether we were drug dealers. And I just sort of thought, no way. Like, no. And the only thing missing was, and we shouted at him, and all the other drivers in their cars clapped us and said, hooray. Like, I sort of listened to it going, that didn't happen. No one knocked on your window, was being nice and polite and said, oh, you must be drug dealers then. You're like, I don't even, do you get where I'm coming from? I just read it and thought, nah, bruv. That's like, you know, when the World Cup was on and goes, Daddy, I'm going to support the team from the country with the best human rights record. No 5-year-old says that. None. Like, I just...
The cool football players, I'll follow them. I followed my first NFL team, the Seahawks, not because I knew anything about NFL. I was watching Super Bowl for the first time. I was like, right, who's got the most black players on their team? I'll support them in it. Like, and that's it. You know what I'm saying? So you tell me a 5-year-old was like, oh yeah, human rights.
Yeah. Well, my mate Phil Green, he's an Arsenal fan. He was the same reason. He had a sticker book, like a Merlin sticker book, and he picked the team that had the most black players in, and it was Arsenal. Like, I said, bruv, you're lucky, man, because if Coventry had it, bruv, you'd be stuck with Coventry right now, you know. Like, you'd genuinely be stuck with Coventry. But that's the thing, man. And for me, it's this kind of like, yeah, I look at these situations and think to myself, people just want to be offended, or they want to seem. Everybody's a social justice warrior now on social media. You know, I ranted about it on Copper's show last night in this situation of, I see all these people and they're offended when. Did you see the video footage of this white dude at Southend Beach moaning about everybody being out while he was out having a beer on the beach with his family?
Yeah,
idiot. Like, all I can say, I agree with everything he said. But he's a hypocrite because he's there with them. If they interviewed him on his doorstep and he was saying it, you'd go, okay, it makes sense that he's staying at home with his family, right? But he was attacked by all the people I know of or know personally that are very left-wing, you know, cool white people like him, gammons. They were all on at him. He's the reason we're going to get a second Spike scumbag. I then went through every one of the people I either follow or know that had a go at him. I went through their timelines for the past week, searched their media. Not one of them tweeted about the group of lads that were hanging around on the street corner that when the police approached, they pretended they were exercising, which also went viral. Now, both groups of people are idiots, right? But yet you ignore one and go after the other because you don't care about what they're doing, you care about the person of which is doing it. Which makes you a social justice warrior. But by the way, you lack credibility because you don't care about actual issues. You care about shitting on one particular type of person and propping up another, which says to me you don't care about equality. And if you don't care about equality, I think you're a bigot. And it doesn't matter what direction it goes in. You discriminate. And that's what happens with these people on social media. It's like, I need to make a point. I want to make a certain group look bad, so I'm going to pretend that, I was in a supermarket queue and the woman behind the counter, the man behind me, who was in his 40s and had very red skin, called me darling. And I turned around and said, I'm not your darling, I am not even a woman, I'm a blah, 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 blah. And everybody cheered. No one cheered. It didn't even happen. There was nobody behind you. It's in your imagination. In the same way that I walk down the road and I go over a bridge and I see a lorry coming underneath me and I think, I could jump and land on that. I could land on that, me. I couldn't. I wouldn't try it. It's a daydream. That's all that happens. People daydream things. Like when you've had a row with someone and you're telling your friends and everyone does this. We all go, and then I said, and you tell him something, you tell your friends something, you didn't say, you tell him something you thought. Often after the fact. But you add it into the argument as if it really happens. That makes sense? These are things people hope happen and they hope say, and they hope the reaction of the crowd comes together. That none of these things are real. They're literally, I think they're all. I had a friend of mine who I ended up falling out with because he told us all that he got jumped. Oh, Haaland, lovely. Sancho! No, nothing happened. I thought he was going to shoot. It blocked. He actually set a chance up in the end. So he told us all, 100% told us all, that he was on a train on the way home, and these group of 3 or 4 middle-aged white dudes started talking to him, but they were being really smarmy and sarcastic, and they asked him where is he from, Pakistan or India, is your dad a bomber, real insensitive things they were asking him and stuff. But he put this long thread on his Facebook page, and he said then I confronted them and they jumped me and they beat me up and all this sort of stuff, and I believed him because I've known the guy a long time, right? But then when I asked him a few questions, he got really shirty with me. I said, whereabouts, on what stage of the train journey home? Why does that matter? I just wondered. I wondered whether it was before you got off. Was there many people on there? Why does that matter? I actually then said to him, are you hurt much? He said, yeah, I'm battered. I said, have you taken photo evidence of it? He says, why are you asking me that for? I said, well, you're going to go to the police, aren't you? No, I'm not going to the police about it. So you're not going to in the end, it turned out he made the whole damn thing up. Just wanted social media attention. And I'm like...
It's like that Jesse Smollett dude, isn't it?
Oh, or is it Jesse Smollett? Or what is it Dave Chappelle calls him? Juicy Smollett. But yeah, exactly. And it's like, wow. That you've gone to that level of a lie to try and, again, to try and create... Those lies create the problem, though, because when these things go viral, it's like, I hate these people, I hate these... And I'm like, And equally, just because... And we all know what a gammon is, right? We all know what a gammon is. These people aren't great people, right? But it's just because someone's got a working class accent and they're from a white background and they've broken lockdown doesn't make them a gammon and a BNP voter. They're not all the same thing, and I always stick up for those people, not as in the mistake they've made, but my dad is a working class man who's 6'3" and bald. To look at my dad, he looks like, if you just see my dad, you might go, it could be an EDL guy. He looks like that. But my dad is as far removed from that as you can imagine. But the way he looks is like that. Does that make sense? Yeah. And me and my family have gone out before, and we were going out for a meal not far from where an EDL rally was going on. They wouldn't let us go to the restaurant because they thought that me, my dad and my brothers were part of the EDL. And we were like, no, we're going to this restaurant. It was my brother's stag do. We were going out for dinner before it. And it was mainly because of my dad, how he looked, because he's big, tall, and bald. And I'm like, I'm not trying to compare that to other sort of discrimination. But my point is, my dad gets seen as one of those people because of the fact his hair's fallen out. And that's why I'm like, just because someone's got a working class accent and they're bald, they're not necessarily voting EDL or for Brexit. Because again, my dad didn't even. My dad's. If you ever met my dad, he hates that sort of thing. So I just don't like the idea. You don't judge people by their cover, by what you see. But there we go.
In before, people in the church like to say that it definitely didn't happen and that.
Yeah, they're gonna say that it didn't happen. But yeah, I got backup. My dad will come on and tell you it happened. Like it's one of them things. But again, we didn't take it to social media. Oh my God, guess what happened, guys? It's just mad. But you can tell the fake ones and the real ones. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because people don't clap when.
yeah, exactly. Because what would make my story fake is, but then all the ethnic minorities that were also in Mile End at the same time come over and told the police off, and they lifted my father onto his shoulders and they carried him to the restaurant, and we all cheered. That's how an SJW would tell the story, you know. And yeah, no, that didn't happen. We just went, oh shit, and then we got on the train, went back a stop, went to a restaurant there instead. We got on with our lives. Do you know what I mean? It was rubbish, but it wasn't the end of the world. But it was, yeah, but it's, yeah, don't judge a book by its cover, do you know what I mean? Because you often find yourself disappointed.
This game has been
dead, bruv.
Dead, man. I'm so upset. You know what the thing is, yeah? We all are asking for football back, and we all want it back, or half of us want it back. And it's like, this is what we got to prepare for. If anyone assumes that the Premier League will be any better than this, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I get that. Do you know what I would say, though, in slight defence of it, is we have a vested interest. Like, I don't care who wins this game. Do you know what I should probably... I know, no, I'm not advocating I should do. Nobody else should do it, just me. I should put a bet on these games, like a considerable bet, where I could lose some money, because then it'd be exciting. Trust me, if you bet on... I did it once. Me and my mates, we used to... decent shot there by Wolfsburg. We used to do this, and it wasn't like madness levels. We'd like at the weekend, we'd be like, right, let's pick a weird sport, handball. We'd find a channel where it was going to be Eurosport it's on. We'd stick like look back then, if I lost £100, I was broke. I'd stick like 80 quid on the favourites to win the game. My God, did I enjoy handball. I watched that game with so much interest because there was money on it, right? I think Sky's old slogan was, it matters more when there's money on it. It bloody does. So if I stuck a bet on right now, 150 quid, Dortmund to win the game from being 1-0 up, every attack by Wolfsburg would make me nervous. But it's because I've got a vested interest. Right now, it doesn't matter to me. Here goes Jadon Sancho. No, he didn't get the ball. I thought he was going to pick it up. But there we go. What's that? Mile End. Yeah, I know. Terry, thanks for reminding me I've got boiled eggs for my tea. That's a good bit of banter. That's kind of cool, bro. But you do know why, sir, I have a bald head, don't you? Because I rubbed it off on your mum's head bald. There we go. My dad's a big bloke, and someone once said to him, I know it's an old joke, but my dad said it once. I've never heard it. I was a kid. Someone like called him a fat so-and-so or whatever. And he goes, yeah, do you know why I'm fat? And I was like, why? Because every time I roll off your mum, she gives me a chocolate biscuit. I know, but it literally.
Some people, I know it. Yeah, there's some things. Yeah, I can't get with anyone mentioning mums. Yeah, oh man, it hurts my soul, and I love.
No, bro. So I grew up in the East End, and I have to explain this to like Essex people when I moved there. Like saying your mum, where I grew up, you could end up in hospital. Just saying the words "your mum" could get you in a lot of trouble. But I did get a guy once, big time, on his mum. It's one of the best joke pranks I'd ever did. This guy was ripping into me. So I met a couple of old football mates, and we went out with their mates. And I kind of knew of these people. I didn't know them very well. Met on a night out. We were in a curry house, right? And this geezer was giving me shit all night, going on and on and on and on to me, right? And I don't know how the conversation with his mum came up, right? But he basically slagged me about something, and I said, yeah, well, his mum was a bit of a, like, the rumour was locally, his mum was a bit of a goer. So I basically said, well, I know your mum quite well, actually. And he went, oh, yeah, of course you do, how well? I said, well, to a point where you should be calling me dad, mate. Right? Got a little bit of a laugh, and I thought I'd leave it there. But he carried on, like, mapping up everybody else, right? And I thought, right, I'm going to fucking do it. I messaged the girl I know. I said, ring me, and just keep saying yes when I answer things, right? So my phone rings, I make sure my phone's on loud, I answer it. I'm trying to get everyone's attention to shush everyone down while I'm talking. I'm sitting on the... Sancho, what skill? They're on a breakaway here. Watch him go. He got left. He got a man left. Got a man right. And there's another assist for Jadon Sancho, ladies and gentlemen. Did you see that wondrous run? The vision to pass it out to the... Oh, that's lovely. Sancho with another assist. My guy. Is that... I think Hakimi got the goal there.
Now, wonderful.
Just beautiful timing.
And look at this, man.
It's the speed. Picks the ball up. Look look, he's taking past the geese. Oh, look at the skill. The Silks. Puts the man pretty much on his bum. He dribbles with speed. Passes it out of the right foot. Knows what he's doing. Jadon Sancho. It's 2-0. That's why it's Jadon Sancho watch. Quality. And look at that. Suckers the defender in all the time. I mean, Hakimi's got to finish. What was your thoughts on that goal, mate? The best part of the goal, though, was the control to take the midfielder out when he wins possession.
Like, sometimes you don't need to do a lot to get around players. And that was just 2 lovely touches around the man. And boom, the weight of pass as well on that to Hakimi is what you need, because you just put it on there so you can run onto it and finish it with 1 touch. Some players like to overkill it or like misdirect it.
Yeah.
So
that was just perfect. Yeah, it was lovely. Can you imagine that on the counter-attack for Man United, bruv?
Go to Martial or
that. It's amazing. But my point is to the joke. So he'd like slagged me off. I did the whole thing about his mum. He was kind of left it, and then my phone rings and I answer the phone. I'm like, I'm taught, hi, how you doing? What you up to? Yeah, I'm sat with the boys. And then I'm like, oh, really? Wow. You want to do what to? I was like, and then I was talking about appendices and stuff. You're gonna do that with my. You're going to do that with my so-and-so, you're going to do this? Wow, what are you wearing? And by then, all the boys are listening. And I'm like, putting the phone down going, boys, I might have to leave this. She wants to do this. I'm talking about all the craziness she wants to do and everything. And they can hear a woman talking. So it's like setting it all up, right, everyone's listening, great. And I'm like, all right, well, I'll ring you later when I'm ready to leave, all right? I'll see you in a bit. And she goes, okay. And I go, but I said, what? Okay. All right, no worries. And I hand the phone up, look at him, hand the phone up and go, mate, it's your mum. She wants to have a chat with you, right? Just ruined him for the rest of the night. Absolutely got him, because they all thought it was a proper bird, like who wanted to like meet up with me for a bit. Suckered him in. I've met him maybe 10 times since. He never takes a piss out of me anymore. I was like, yeah, done him so bad, man. That was it.
The thing is, if he had caught him, if he had punched in the mouth, it kind of would have been semi.
Yeah, no, he would have done. He would have done. But that's but you know what it's like when you're out with lads. There's it's banter.
It's one of those ones where like.
Hang on a sec. There's been a VAR decision given here. I'm not sure what's happening. Must be getting a red card. Is he? What's going on? I'm really confused here. Sorry.
Is this for the goal or the counter tackle?
It must be for the tackle, because they're not focusing. The camera be on Sancho.
Where is he going?
I don't really get the issue here. They're saying, it's because he stepped on his shit. It's because after he wins the ball, it's like studs go right into the back of the guy's leg. That can be the only thing I can think of. Are they looking to send him off, I suppose, is the point they're looking at here?
Oh, I don't think that's deliberate. I think he's legit trying to... Yeah,
for me, that's accidental. Yeah. Oh, I don't know. From the reverse angle, that looks really bad. He's going to send him off. His referee looks young as well, you know. Is he going to send him off? He looks like he's... Yeah, it's red card. It's definitely going to be a red card. Back pocket. Yeah, red. I knew it. I knew he was going to send him off. It was that reverse angle. You could see it was an accident, but it was so dangerous. And he looks like Owen Wilson, that guy, doesn't he? Oh, yeah. Yeah, the front angles, yeah, he's got to go.
That's game over for Wolfsburg.
Yeah, finish, man. But no, someone said to me that goal wasn't that sick. That was a brilliant counter-attack goal. That was brilliant. The thing, and this is the interesting thing about it, I know for a fact if Real Madrid just scored that goal and that control, beating the midfielder for possession, the dribble and the pass were all done by Eden Hazard, man would be raving. They'd be raving about it.
Another thing people probably don't look at, when people are running at, like that run that Jadon Sancho made after he beat the player, when you're running at that speed and trying to go that distance, it's so easy to overhit the ball where you're running after it. So the fact that he was able to keep it in line with his pace,
yeah,
he was able to slow it down.
Absolutely. I think as well. So I've been studying. The video will come out next week of the stuff I've been studying around Jadon Sancho. I mean, there's been 3 or 4 assists that he's created that I've seen the footage of, where he's been in the same situation as that, different parts of the field, but same situation where he's got so much time to think. And you know what you said about Rashford sometimes when he's got too much time, he makes a mistake. The evidence that I've seen shows me that Jadon Sancho remains cool in those situations, which is imperative. There was a goal that he set up. I don't remember which team it was against, but essentially he picks the ball up. He's got acres of space around on the right-hand side. He goes from the throw-in line right down to the edge of the box on the right-hand side of the pitch, and then he cuts the ball back to his teammates. But I've seen on so many occasions with young players, they get to that point, they've got loads of time to think, they hesitate, they either pass too early or too late, and then you end up in a situation where nothing comes of it. So there's 3 or 4 times you can, with the footage that I've seen, you just see the fact that he's got the brain power and the intelligence, but then the concentration and coolness to relax in those moments and ensure the right kind of pass is made.
I think if United get Jadon Sancho, I think that when that happens, you will see a big difference in Dan James as well. Because what you just described is what I think about when I think of Dan James. Where he gets in good positions, he does all the hard stuff, and at the final point, he's still, you can still see he's a bit enamoured of the fact that he's at United, and he makes the wrong pass, or he overhit the pass a little bit. And so I think with someone like Jadon Sancho, who's good in those situations, who's similar age to him as well, those two can really work together and help each other out. Because I assume that Dan James would be a sub or backup for Jadon Sancho or Rashford.
I can't imagine it being any other way. But what a player to come on with 15-20 minutes to go against some tired legs. Especially against the big teams. If we're winning as well. And if we won 2-0 up against Chelsea at Old Trafford with 20 minutes to go, you want that speed of Dan James coming on.
Like, Dan James is a player that when we first was linked to him, I was like, I've seen his footage, he just looked rapid. As much as I love speed, that's not enough in it. So I was like, hopefully he can come into the team and do something. He starts off really well, gets that goal against Chelsea, which I was absolutely gassed for him when that happened. And then he started to back some goals, and I was like, yes, this kid looks good. And then the season went on, and he kept playing and playing and playing, which is obviously not his fault, he just did himself. And I started to look at him like, is this kid actually is he actually someone who's got the ability and talent to play at this level, or was he just fortunate enough to be recommended or scouted by United and picked up? But as time went on, when he had his break and he came back in, I started to, because I was in the mind's frame of, he's a first team player, I need to expect first team outputs. I stopped thinking like that. I'm going to actually let me go back to what I used to think of him when he first signed, and actually be like, this kid has just joined from Chelsea.
I agree. I think what happened. Sorry, mate. Go on.
I'm pretty sure he'll grow into it. I said I'm pretty sure he'll grow into it, and if I stick with the belief of he will be a great squad player for United, I feel like you'll see. I think we'll appreciate Dan James more for what he is.
No, I agree. I think that the start he had made us all think, we've got something better than we thought we had. And actually, no, we've got what we thought we had. For me, a squad player at the moment who should have only really been in here for rotation. If we would have pulled the other signings off we were meant to get, we know we tried to get Bruno in the summer. It didn't happen. We were looking for a Lukaku replacement, couldn't get it over the line. So if we would have signed Bruno Fernandes, and let's just say we did get the Barlow, if that would have worked out, whether you think we rejected him or he rejected us is irrelevant. If we'd have signed them two players, would Dan James have got as much game time this year? The answer's no. And we wouldn't be thinking about him in the way that we do. And do I look at Dan James as a player that could reach the tier one? No, but I think he could be a very good squad player for Man United for 4, 5, 6 years. Might bang in 5, 6, 7 goals in the league a season, especially on counter-attacks, and does a decent job for us. I don't understand. Well, I do. I think because he gets more game time than Chong and Gomez, who, again, from a culture point of view, the football culture point of view, is that they're more cultured footballers. They're better with the ball, intricate. They should be in the team. And it's a case of, that's just what you think, bruv. You don't need to hate on Dan James just because the manager doesn't agree with how you want football to be played. And if you really want it to be played your way, do your coaching badges, start coaching, and build up to be the Man United manager. And then we'll see how good you really are, bruv. But I'm sure... Like, again, we all can have an opinion. I'm talking about people that are so annoyed at every little decision that Ollie makes. And it's that's the bit that frustrates me, is the sense of, I disagree with some things, but it's every substitution, every starting lineup, every sign, everything there's a problem with. It's like, come on. You know, do you really know that much more than him? That you can't do. Like, when you think everything's wrong, again, I feel like when, like, if you look at someone in a senior role in anything in life, if you think everything they do is wrong, I think you're the one with the problem. Because nobody's wrong in everything they do. As a general rule, again, someone will throw a really weird thing. Oh, what about Hitler? Well, yeah, okay, all right, maybe he was. Do you know what I mean? But I'm a general speaking, non-evil, weird, wicked people. No football manager is wrong with everything they do. You know, in my opinion. But yeah, if you hate them, that's what you see.
I'll be honest. I was there in terms of Ollie and Dan James. I was like, every time Dan James was doing something, I was always hoping for the outcome to be different, but it wasn't. So I just get frustrated. I was definitely very frustrated with Ollie, and every time I didn't see Angel Gomez at least on the bench, because I rate Angel Gomez a lot higher than Chung. Personally, if Chung got let go, I wouldn't really be upset.
Agree with that.
But yeah, I was at that point where I was like, you know, you can't even put Gomez on the bench. Like, what's wrong with Ollie? His subs were always the wrong time or the wrong player, and it's just like it took me. I think this break from football and me focusing on myself and what I want to do, like, really helped me just be like, you know what, yeah, I may not like certain things about Ollie, or I might not like certain things about Dan James, but I need to start to appreciate the things that they are good at and the things that they do, because that's going to be more beneficial for me as a person, because I'm not going to be stressed. And two, if the team is really affected by how the fans think, it will be better for the team as well.
And that's why I look at about opinions, right? So I think about, there's a YouTuber I watch who hasn't said one, even when we win good big games, says it's all the players, has not praised Ollie all year, says everything derogatory about him. And I sit there and think, so you hate this guy because he gets everything wrong. But I've seen you give weird opinions on, say, Rashford. But, you know, he's a championship player, right? Max championship player, not good enough his level. He then starts killing it, and it's like, well, you're wrong about things. So why should anybody why should anyone listen to you when you're wrong about things and won't admit them as an example? And I feel like we all get things wrong. I get things wrong every single day. I think this guy's going to have a good game. He doesn't. I think this will happen. It doesn't. You admit that, you know, because you're giving opinions on things, it's fine. You know, everyone in their day job, every day will get things wrong and do small little things here. Or you're actually doing things right, but someone disagrees with how you do it. Imagine that's even more important, right? Imagine, Haaland's in, it was nearly another assist there by Jadon, you know. I just feel like, do you get where I'm coming from? There's an element of, Ollie definitely makes mistakes, but that doesn't mean you should hate him for everything else he does. And the point I make is, you've made mistakes on your YouTube channel. Does it mean that I should slag off all your other opinions because of other mistakes you made in the past? No. Equally, you may see things differently. That's fine. We've all got to agree to disagree. But why the continual negativity? And I felt, and I'm a bit like you, I felt myself, I was reflecting a lot over this shutdown period. And I realised that I just lost, especially November, December, I lost sight of everything. I lost sight of the build. I lost sight of the fact that this was a process. And I just wanted it now, you know, very much like, the other girl, I think her name was Veronica Salt from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I just wanted it now. And I was the problem. I didn't have the patience to wait. And maybe losing football in the way we did made me realise, I need to be more patient. I need to, wait. Because actually, if we all got behind him and we were more supportive, you do realise the media would get off his back. And if they're off his back, there's less pressure. And if there's less pressure, we'll probably get back to the highest level sooner rather than later. You know, I think and that's where, do you know, Liverpool fan, we had the Red Men TV on the other day as well. And this was another factor. They were saying how, even after tough games, it's difficult to get Liverpool fans to do fan cams because they don't want to air their dirty linen in public. They want to keep it all in-house. They don't want added pressure being thrown on the manager and the team. And I thought to myself, love or hate Liverpool fans, that's a great collective note. That is an element that's a great collective notion to have. You know, and I'm not saying they shouldn't air, and the Red Men TV certainly do criticise certain elements, but it's all in proportion. It isn't 10 pieces of criticism versus one piece of half-hearted praise. And of course, there's more things to criticise with us than there is Liverpool, but the principle remains the same. You know, when I see certain people they moan in the morning. This is a match day experience. morning, I hope we do this today and not that. I hope this happens today and not this. I don't have a good feeling. That's first moan. Second moan is don't like the lineup, don't like this, don't like the bench. Third moan is, what's this formation? Fourth moan is, too slow in the first 10 minutes. Every element, every moment of the day, there's a moan. We won 3-0 though. Yeah, well, that was